Welcome to this online demo of Sahi Pro. Today I am going to show you different features of Sahi and how it works overall in web automation. I'll be starting with a simple record and playback of a script, and I'll build upon that while we go through different features of Sahi. Before we start, let's download Sahi Pro and install it on our system. To download Sahi Pro, start your browser, go to sahi.co.in. In the product section, you can find the link for Sahi Pro. And if you are not a customer of Sahi Pro, you can click on this free trial to download the free trial license for 30 days. If you already have a trial license and you want to check out the features of latest versions of Sahi Pro, you can go to the downloads archive. Here we have got the latest version Sahi Pro version 4.5.2. You can click on this to download this version. Click on save file. To install Sahi Pro, you can either double click this jar file as it is an executable jar file, or you can open a command window over here. To open a command window in this folder, press shift and then right click on this window. Click on open command window here. You can do java -jar and then the file name install Sahi Pro version 4.5.2. This will open up your installer. Click on next. You need to accept the license terms and agreement. Choose a directory path without any spaces. It is an ideal condition to give the version name along with this. I'll be giving 452 latest and click on next. It will say that it will be creating a new directory with the specified file name. Click on OK over here. Go to next. It will install Sahi Pro over there. Click on next when it is finished. Again click on next and then done. Your Sahi Pro is installed and ready to use. You can close this command window. Once you have installed Sahi Pro, you can launch Sahi using the batch file provided in user data bin folder. This batch file is called start_dashboard.bat. On the first run, it will ask you for the license. You can click on add license and you can add your license.data file which came through your email. Once the license is added, my Sahi Pro is ready to use. You can see that this is the Sahi dashboard on which there are different browsers mentioned over here. There are other links provided in this area of the dashboard which are used for configuring Sahi or going to the scripts folder, launching the web runner. This SSL link will help you accept the SSL certificates for HTTPS sites. Logs link will take you to the logs of your Sahi Pro run. This bin link is used to start the test runner, and this traffic logs will be used for the debugging purposes. Right now you can see that there are 3 browsers mentioned in my Sahi dashboard. Sahi will automatically try to detect the browsers present in their default positions. If it is not showing the browsers in this dashboard, you can go to configure. In this browser_types.xml file, you can provide the correct path for the browsers and it will find those browsers at that place and it will be displaying those browsers. Right now it is not showing Chrome in my Sahi dashboard, so I'll add the path for Chrome over here. Save the file, restart Sahi, and here is Chrome. It is being displayed in my dashboard. Let's start with a basic record and playback. I'll be using Chrome for this recording, but you can use any browser for recording and you can play it back on any other browser. It will work equally fine. So if you see this welcome page on your browser window, you can be sure that this browser is opened through Sahi. When a browser is opened through Sahi, it will be having the proxy of Sahi configured within it. So this will be using the proxy as localhost colon 9999. Now to start the record, I need to open the controller for this window. To open the controller, I just need to press Alt and then double click on the browser window. This is my Sahi controller. It consists of 4 different tabs called Record, Playback, Clipboard and Info. So this Record tab is used when I am recording a script. Similarly, this Playback will be used whenever I am going to play back a script. This clipboard is a handy place to copy and paste some information which you need during recording, and this info will give you the information about your window, OS, etc. To start the recording, I need to provide a script name. I'll be giving it as demo.sh and then click on record. Once I click on record, whatever action I am going to perform on this window, all of them will be recorded in my script. Let us go to the sample application. So you can see that when I clicked on this link for sample application, this line was populated in my evaluate expression box as well as recorded steps box. So this statement is recorded because I navigated to this particular URL. Now this is a simple login interface. I will log in as a test user. You can see that as I am doing actions on this browser, those steps are being recorded in my recorded steps. So my script is recording over here. This is a shopping cart application and I would like to perform some steps on this application. There are some books available which I can add to my cart and then I can get the total out of it. So let us put some values over here. I'd like to get 3 core Java books, 2 Ruby for Rails, and let's say 1 Python cookbook. Let me click on add and there is some total displayed over here. In a normal automation sequence, we'll be performing some actions on our application and there will be some output for that action on which we can put some checks and assertions. In this example, I have added some books in my cart and then I have added the total to get the total cost of these books. Now this total is being displayed in a text box near to this grand total. What I'd like to do now is check whether this total is being displayed correctly or not. Before I go to check the total, let me show you what this portion of recorder tab does. So this says accessor, alternatives, value, prefix, and there are few more buttons over here. Now this accessor will give you a handle to some element in this HTML page. If I press Ctrl and hover over any element, it will give me the accessor for that particular element. So right now I am pressing Ctrl and I am hovering over this cell called total cost. So it recognizes this cell as underscore cell total cost. This alternatives will give me different other alternatives through which this cell can be recognized. So these are my alternatives through which I can identify this particular element. This value will give me the value of that element. The prefix will be used whenever we are using pop-ups or whenever we are using an iframe from a different domain. So then this prefix will be populated. So right now what I wanted to do is I need to get this total and then I want to assert on this text box whether it is showing me the correct value or not. So if I press Ctrl and hover over this text box, it gives me the accessor as underscore text box total. If I press this button called assert, it will give me certain assertions about this text box which I can make in my script. So right now these assertions won't be added into my recorder steps This is because you can play around in this evaluate expression box, and when you are sure that this is the proper command which you want to add in your steps, then you can click this append to script button over here, and it will add that particular line to your script. So these suggestions say that I can check either for the existence of this text box total, or I can check for this visibility of text box total, and I can check for the value of this text box total being equal to 1650. So I'll be selecting this value of this text box total. If I click on test, it will just execute this particular step but will not add it to the recorded step. It gives me a true over here. I want just this particular line to be appended to my script, so I will highlight this and then click on append to script. This will add this particular statement into my script. I'll click on logout and stop the recording. So we have got our first script recorded. On the Sahi dashboard, if I click on this scripts link, it will take me to my scripts folder. So you can see that this demo.sh, it has been recorded over here and it is present in my scripts folder. I will open this with Notepad++, and you can see that these are the different steps which were recorded during our action on the browser. Let me play this back. I'll be using Firefox to play it back, just to show you that a script recorded on a different browser can be played on any other browser. Similarly, I will open up my controller by pressing Alt and double clicking on this browser window. Once my controller is there, I'll go to my Playback tab. I'll provide the file name as demo.sh, and then I need to provide the start URL from where the execution will be starting. So the start URL for this can be this link to sample application. So this is the start URL. If I click on set, it is going to refresh this page, and then if we click on play, it will start executing the script. So now it has executed my script. It gave me a success message over here. So now I can check my logs for the particular script run. So if I click on this logs link over here, or on this logs link on the dashboard, I will come to this particular window where it will be showing my reports. Now let us click on this. You can see that it is showing line by line execution of the script along with the time taken for each statement to run on the browser. This was the assertion we made, and since it is in green, it means that it has passed. If the assertion was shown in red, it means that it failed. So now if you look at this kind of log, all you can see is that we navigate to some particular URL, we set the values of some text boxes, click on some button, and then perform some other actions on that browser window. This log isn't descriptive enough. If you just change this user, password, login, etc. to some computer generated IDs or classes, and you won't be able to figure out what exactly is going on into this particular test case. Since this is a very raw recorded script, it is showing like this, but whenever you are going through proper automation, what we need to do is we need to create some functions out of this, give them proper inputs, use proper variables in there, and then we are going to run those scripts. Now we have a basic script recorded with us. What we want to do is make it more modular and more useful by adding functions to it. I'll be using the script editor provided by Sahi. You can use your own script editor, either Eclipse or Notepad++. There is this small link called script editor over here in the Sahi controller. If I click on this, it will open my script editor built in Sahi. If I provide the file name over here and then click on load, this will open my recorded script. Now you can see that these particular lines are relevant to a function called login. So I'll select these lines, click on this create function, provide a name for the function, and then click on continue. So Sahi will make this function. Now these four statements can be clubbed together into a function called add books. Then again click on continue. This is the place where we are verifying the total. So let us create a function called verify total, and for sake of completeness let's create another function called logout. So we have got our functions created. Let's save this script and play it back. I'll choose I this time. So you can see that the state is preserved with all the browsers across Sahi during a single session. So if you open IE and then record something, this will be available when you open Firefox also. So let me click on this set and then play. You might be seeing that the same steps are executed again over here, but let us now go to the logs. Now you can see that these logs are much more descriptive, and at a glance you can say that what we have done is we logged in using some test and secret variables. Then we have added books in the quantity 321. We have verified the total to be 1650, and then we logged out. So this gives us a level of abstraction when we are looking at the logs. When you click on this plus sign, it will show you the steps which were executed during the particular function. If you are going to click on this line in the logs, it will take you to the exact line of code from where this was executed. So it takes me to this function login from where this underscore click was executed. Now I have a script ready with functions. What I can do next is to transfer these functions in some file to create a library which can be used by other scripts as well. To create a library of function, I will create a different Sahi script and name it as Sahi underscore lib.sh. I will take these functions from here, move them to my Sahi underscore lib.sh file, and then I can make these functions available to my demo.sh using the underscore include API of Sahi. I need to provide a relative path to this underscore include API for this Sahi underscore lib.sh file. Now if I run my script, you can see that these functions are available for this script. If I go to the logs and then if I go to a particular line, you can see that it takes me to this Sahi underscore lib.sh file from where this function was called. Now we have got a functions library with us. What I am going to do next is record one more script to show you how to identify elements in a better way. I'll open my Chrome browser. I'll record one more script called demo underscore 2, let's say .sh. Click on record, go back to my sample application. Now I'll try logging in with a different username and password which is incorrect. We'll try test here and let's say pass. When I click on login, some prompt comes up over here which says invalid username or password. In my test case, I would like to check whether this prompt comes up or not. So let me hover over this invalid username and password. you can see that it is identifying it using the visible text of this div. It might be a possibility that this visible text can change in future. So let me look at the alternatives. I have this alternative div error message which seems to be the ID of this div. So I'll use this ID instead of the visible text in this div to identify this element. I'll click on assert. I want to see whether this div is visible or not. So I'll assert on the visibility of this div. I'll append this to my script. Then I'll again log in using the correct username and password. I'll go to this shopping cart, and then if you look closely, this text box has been identified as underscore text box q. The second text box, it is being identified as underscore text box q1. This one is the index provided by Sahi. I'll show you how this index is being provided, and again this underscore text box q2 is how this identifies the third text box. If we inspect this element, you can see that the name of this text box is q. Again for this, the name is q, and for this text box also the name is q. So all these text boxes are having the same name q. So what Sahi does as its last attempt to uniquely identify these text boxes is that it will provide an index to these text boxes. So this was the first text box, this was the second text box, and this is the third text box. Now what we can do is, using the graphic user interface of this application, we can provide a context to this identification. If we look to this text box, we can see that this text box is related to this core Java. Again this text box has a relation with this Ruby for Rails, and this text box is related to Python cookbook. So Sahi has got APIs such as underscore near or underscore in, underscore left off, right off, etc. to provide a context to the identification of elements. So right now I am going to use this core Java as my anchor point to identify this text box. So first I'll press Ctrl and hover over this cell core Java. There is this anchor button present on the controller. If I click this anchor button, it will use this cell as the anchor to identify the other elements. Now if I press Ctrl and hover over this text box, you can see that accessor is shown as underscore text box q underscore near underscore cell core Java. So if I click on highlight, it highlights the correct text box. Similarly, we can identify the text boxes with reference to Ruby for Rails, Python cookbook, etc. I'll fill in the value as 3. For this I'll put in the value 2, and again this 1. And similarly I'll click on add, and I'll assert something on this total. It has stopped the recording. Now again I'll use this Sahi underscore lib.sh functions in my demo2.sh. I have modified this script to use the functions from Sahi underscore lib.sh, and I have included this Sahi underscore lib.sh in this file. Also in the verify total, we have added the same number of books in the above function as 3 to 1, but to fail this script I have added this verify total function with a parameter passed as 1800. So let me save this script, and I'll play this back. You can see that the script will stop here for some time, and then it will give you a failure message. Now if I check into the logs, it will show me a red bar, and if I click into this, I can see my verify total function has failed. Now going into the verify total, I can see that Assertion was failed as it was expecting a value of 1800 whereas the actual value was 1650. So if some script is failing, it will show this in red, and you can click on this line to go to the exact line in the script which failed. Once I have got a few scripts recorded, I can club them according to a flow and create a sweet file which can execute all the scripts using a single user command. To create a suite, go to the scripts directory and create a new file. You can name it demo.suite and then open it with a text editor. Now to execute all the test cases in a suite, we need to provide the name of the Sahi scripts which refer to those test cases. I have my demo.sh file which I would like to run in this suite and demo_2.sh file. So I'll write these two Sahi scripts in my suite file. I'll save this and my suite is ready to run. To run a suite file, I need to use test runner which can be invoked using this bin link from the dashboard. When I click on the bin link, this command window comes up. If I type test runner and press enter, it will give me how to use test runner with some examples. I'm going to run a suite file, so I'll use test runner, then provide in the path to the suite relative to my scripts folder. Then I'll provide the start URL and the browser on which I want to playback that suite. You can see that there are two different instances of IE which are opened and these are running parallelly. So it will run both my test cases and then give me a success or failure message over here. You can see that it has given me a failure over here. Let's open the logs to check, and you can see that demo.suite has been run on IE. Now this shows me the number of scripts which were run and the time taken by each script. My demo.sh has passed, so it is shown in green color, while this demo_2.sh failed and it is shown in the red color. I look into this demo_2 and we know that this verified total was to fail. Since this part of the script failed, it shows the failure of the complete suite. You can see that there is something called a suite info over here, and there are some key value pairs stored in this suite info. You can access these using the API_suite info, and I'll show you a little bit later how this can be used to pass in extra parameters while running a suite. Another feature in Sahi which I would like to show at this point of time is called distributed playback. If we go to our user data bin folder, we can see that there is a file called testrunner.bat which we have used just before to run suites or CSV file, and there is another file called drun.bat. If we open this batch file, we can see that there is a node defined in this file. Right now this node says localhost colon 9999, which means that it will run the test cases on my machine only. Now if I have a large number of test cases that are to be executed, what I can do is I can distribute the test cases on several different machines using this drun.bat. I can mention those machines using their machine name in the nodes section over here, and then Sahi will automatically distribute the test cases on other machines. Please note that you need to have Sahi running on all these machines so that Sahi will be able to connect to the port 9999 on these machines, and then it can send the test cases to be run over there. Sahi will automatically distribute the test cases among different machines based upon its availability at that point of time and its capacity to run the scripts.
After the test is run, it will collect the logs at one place and show it in the logs. Now I am going to show you the Excel framework for Sahi Pro. This framework can be used to run quick tests using the Excel sheet itself. I'll go to my scripts folder. In the demo there is a folder called framework in which I have got an Excel file already. If I'll open this Excel file, you can see that it looks nothing like a Sahi script. All it contains is that there's some test cases, there's documentation about the test case, and it looks like some functions are being called with these parameters. While using the Excel framework, this keyword load Sahi is used to provide the Sahi script which contains all these functions that are called while running this Excel file. This sample underscore lib.sh is having these login function, add books function, verify total, etc., which were recorded during our previous run. So I have already created this sample library for Sahi which will be used with this Excel file. Now in this Excel file I'm going to do the same thing. I'll check for shopping cart total and I'll test the login error message. So I have provided these functions names and then I have called these functions using this parameters. Let me run this Excel file. To run the Excel file, I'll start my controller, provide in the name for that Excel file, give it a start URL, click on the set button over here, it will refresh the page, and then click on play. You can see that this Excel file is calling these functions from the library file and then these statements are executed. If you check into the logs, you can see that these logs are even much more descriptive than using the functions itself. You can have your test case name over here, some documentation with that, and then these function calls. Again, clicking on the line of code in the log will take you to the exact line of code in the Sahi file from which it has been executed. So this is how you will run the Sahi scripts using the Sahi Pro Excel framework. Another way of executing the test cases selectively using tags is to run them as a CSV file. I have a CSV file already built in which we have the test case ID, the description of the test case, its priority, the functionality, release number, and then we have got the script which contains the test case and the tags attached with the particular test case. Now you can see that this script training.sh contains the statements which should be run for this test case tc_1. This is my training.sh in which I have used this Sahi API called underscore test case to define a test case in Sahi. So these steps will be executed whenever my test case tc_1 will be executed. Now if I open my test runner, you can see that here is the example where you can run a CSV file based upon the tags. The syntax for running the CSV file from our test runner is similar to the suite run or a Sahi script run, except that we evaluate some tags at the end of the syntax. Right now I have provided the tag to be either user or admin and it should contain the tag medium. So if we manually evaluate this, we'll get that this tc_1 is having the tag of user, again tc_2 is having the tag of user, this 3 and 4 are having the tag of admin. So all these 4 will qualify up till this logical OR, and when we apply this and medium, we'll get that this first and third test case will be run as a part of this script run. So let's play this. Again, it is going to launch two different instances. You can configure your Sahi to run as many instances as you want and as your operating system or machine can support. It gives me a success over here. Now if I'll go to the logs, you can see that this log is similar to that of a suite run. You can click on this Sahi script to see the exact statements which were run as a part of this test case. Also, you can go to this test cases report summary tab, and here it will be shown as the CSV file which you have already run. So these fields up to the start URL is same, and in the status, time and report ID we have added the status of the run, the time taken for the run, report ID and the report URL for this particular run. You can download this as a CSV using this link. As the last part of this demo video, I'd like to show you the Sahi Web Runner. If you click on this web link over here, it will open up the Web Runner for Sahi. You can see that all the test cases which are present in my scripts folder are populated over here. You can filter out the test cases which you want to run. Let's say I want to run demo.sh. So I can provide the browser name here and the start URL. I can specify the number of threads if I want to run more than one script, and then I can play the script. So let's say we want to run demo.sh. I have provided the browser name and the start URL over here. If I click on this play button, it will launch the browser, run the test case, and then I can view the log for this particular script using this view logs button. So you can see that this is the script run which I just did. Now I have recorded a couple of more scripts. Called login underscore with underscore mask.sh and login underscore with underscore total mask.sh. These scripts will show you how you can mask your logs by providing some extra inputs at the time of running the script. So let us say we want to provide the username and password, but we don't want to show them into the logs. Now there are two methods by which we can do this using the Sahi Web Runner. If we look into this script, this underscore mask logs and underscore unmasked logs will mask this area of the script run. Now as I mentioned earlier, we can use this suite info and then use the variables present in suite info to provide the input to these statements. Now if I open my web runner and if I want to play this script called login underscore with underscore mask.sh, you have seen that it is taking from suite info this variable called user and a variable called pass. I can pass these as extra parameters from the web runner. I need to click on this question mark, pass in the user as test and pass as secret. Click on update. It will update this with the extra parameters to be passed, and then I can run this script. After the script run, if I check the logs for this script, you can see that these messages were masked from the Sahi logs. But if you see into the suite report, in the suite info, we have these user is equal to test and pass is equal to secret available for someone to look into. If you want to mask these from the suite info as well, what we need to do is provide these variables with a variable name starting with mask underscore. Now in the script explorer, if I select this checkbox mask and then update it, you can see that these variables are not defined as mask underscore user and mask underscore password. So in my second script, that is login with total mask, you can see that I am using mask underscore user and mask underscore pass to pass in these values from suite info. Let us run these using the web runner. Now if I check the logs, you can see that it is masked here as earlier, but when I go to the suite report and look into the suite info, you can see that there is user and password present here, but both are shown as masked. So you know that you have passed this mask underscore user and mask underscore pass as extra parameters, but no one can see these. So you can use this feature in the web runner to pass some extra parameters during the runtime in Sahi Pro. For documentation on Sahi, you can visit our website sahi.co.in/w/using Sahi. For documentation on Sahi, you can visit our website sahi.co.in/w/using-sahi, on which you will find the complete documentation for Sahi. If you have any further queries about Sahi Pro, you can email us at support@sahi.co.in with your query. Thank you for watching.